Welcome back to Tripod, an essential guide to audio advertising from the specialist audio agency Trisonic. I'm its co-founder and creative director Matt Hopper, and I've produced more audio ads than I've had hot dinners, as have my guests, creative head of BBC Creative Debbie Dillion and creative consultant Kieran Murphy. Together this time we explore ad length and word count and ask, how long is long enough? Let's talk about ad length. The default duration for an ad is 30 seconds, but how long does an ad need to be? How much can we fit in? And how many words are there in? These are all questions I'm asked all the time. And how many words are there in a 30-second ad? Well, doesn't that depend on the words? Doesn't that depend on whether they're surrounded by sound effects and music? And for the record, 147 words per minute is the average in a radio ad. So any thoughts on duration?
How long do you need to tell somebody something? If you only need 15 seconds, use 15 seconds. There's no point getting people to carry on listening when you're not giving them any reward just because you want to fill 30 seconds. It's very frustrating that sometimes you have to book 30 seconds and the client feels the need to pack it full of as much information as possible when actually you don't need all that time, and you could do something very engaging, very clear, give them a bit of a reward on the end and get them a clear call to action in order to fill out that time, rather than sticking in every single piece of information that they want in their ad.
Yeah, I would agree totally. The bloated ads are the worst ads because it's just wall to wall, and your brain doesn't really know what to pick out. It's just word mush. How long should an ad be? Well, yeah, what's the tone of the ad as well should be taken into consideration. There are great ads that I've listened to that maybe are slightly longer than they need to be, but that's because they've got these brilliant pauses in, or turns of inflection, or a funny pause right before a punchline that's elevated the ad in some way. So again, that will be something that I think the writers and producers, that's their prerogative to take the client through. And then once the client kind of begin to understand that, again, that's when it becomes fun, in my opinion.
Yeah. But often I think we're, as creatives, we're kind of restricted by what the media planners have decided in terms of duration. And when we finally get the brief, oh no, it's 20-second ad, and we've got to achieve this. That conversation should be had right at the start, shouldn't it?
It should. It would. I think that should be a conversation that's driven by the creative brief, and that conversation that's coming straight up front to lay the foundations for the campaign. Unfortunately, that's not always a luxury that we're afforded. But I do think that great creative still finds a way to use the limitations that it's got to the best of its abilities. Like as long as it's not wall to wall, that is the only thing that I will always 100% push back on. What can we cut out is more often the conversation that I'm having. I
suppose it's managing expectations as well. If you haven't been able to have that conversation at the very top with the planning team, so you haven't actually agreed between you what will be best for this campaign, what duration will be best for this campaign, then it's managing the expectations of the client. We have only got 20 seconds. We needed 30 seconds. However, we only have 20. We can do a really, really good job, but we can only actually achieve one of these objectives. And we can do that for 4 weeks. And then we can come back in 4 weeks and do the other thing that you wanted to do within this ad, which we can't do because we've only got 20 seconds. And let's not stick everything in, because it's the old analogy of juggling balls. You can throw a load at me. If you throw three at me at once, I'm unlikely to catch any of them. But if you catch one single ball, which is nicely aimed, I will catch it.
On word count, Radio Centre recently published some really, really interesting research on word count and found that creative standout suffers the most when ads have too many words. Are we surprised?
No, that's not rocket science, is it?
For every 10 extra words a minute you put into an ad, according to this research, creative standout falls by 1%.
Yes. That's because it's a linear medium and the brain can only assimilate and take in so much with this single input. And television's different. You've got images, you've got sound, you've got music. But with audio, it's just all going in through your ears and your brain has to work out what's going on. If you put too many words in, your brain's playing catch up and you will lose the next point because you're too busy thinking, what was that about? You need pauses, you need fewer words, you need to give the ears and the brain time to work.
Next up, Burn Baby Burnout. How many key messages should an audio ad contain? And how long can you run the same ad before it starts to have diminishing returns? To make sure you don't miss that and future episodes, just follow or subscribe to the show. And it'd be great if you could rate and review us if you have the time. For more about audio advertising, just visit trisonic.co.uk.